Hello, and welcome to Module 6. This week we continue with the Clean Air Act by looking at how the Act regulates hazardous air pollutants and mobile sources. Let's begin with describing hazardous air pollutants. These are pollutants that are known or suspected to cause cancer. They damage our immune system, neurological and reproductive functioning, and can cause birth defects. They're also deposited on land and water, where they are ingested by animals and plants with harmful results. Benzene is considered the most hazardous air pollutant and is a combustion byproduct of gasoline and diesel fuel. Hazardous air pollutants also come from dry cleaning facilities, chemical plants, and industries such as automobile, paper, plastic, rubber, and metals. Hazardous air pollutants pose the greatest risks to humans. However, EPA has struggled to reduce them. As originally written in 1970, EPA was told to identify and regulate those pollutants which would result in greater mortality or serious illness, which is a health-based approach, but the original 1970 standard was too onerous for EPA to implement because it was based on health only. For over 20 years, EPA struggled to come up with a standard solely on safety to human and environmental health because they knew it would shut down certain industries. It was only able to set standards for 7 pollutants in that time frame before Congress stepped in 1990 and rewrote the entire section. This time Congress identified 189 hazardous pollutants and gave EPA 10 years to set standards for each one. To address the past difficulty, Congress modified the original health-based approach to accommodate economic and technology factors. This change resulted in a two-step process. First, set a health safety standard without consideration of cost, and then consider costs and other non-health factors when determining the ample margin of safety. The rationale is that there has to be some acceptable level of risk with regards to hazardous air pollutants, that there is no expectation of a risk-free standard. Since all hazardous air pollutants have some risk, a risk-free standard would require no emissions and would shut down industry. Under the law, the health-based standard is adjusted to consider costs and economic impacts of controls, technological feasibility, uncertainties, and any other relevant factors. Almost 30 years later, EPA is still short 15 standards. What I'd like you to keep in mind as you go through this module is the interplay among pollutant categories. Last week you learned about criteria pollutants, and this week it's hazardous air pollutants. Consider what happens when a pollution control intended for hazardous air pollutants also happens to reduce criteria pollutants. Sounds like a co-benefit, right? Not always, as you'll see from one of our cases. This module will also discuss mobile sources. The Clean Air Act covers 3 major mobile source categories. First, the law covers on-road vehicles like cars, trucks, and motorcycles. The law separates these by weight class, such as light duty versus heavy duty. The second major area are non-road engines, such as aircraft, construction equipment, marine vessels, and locomotives. It also includes smaller engines like lawnmowers and snowmobiles. And the third area are the fuels that power mobile sources: gasoline, diesel, biodiesel, ethanol, and jet fuel. So the role of mobile sources is broad. The Clean Air Act takes a 3-part approach. First, it addresses engines. Second, it addresses fuels. And third, it addresses control programs, such as inspection and maintenance programs. Think of all 3 as part of one system. We'll address each in greater detail in the following modules. I want you to consider the purpose of a law. The purpose of the Clean Air Act is clean air, right? Sounds simple enough, but someone has to translate that purpose into words, definitions, procedures, etc. The space between purpose and words can be a chasm where proponents and opponents argue for their interpretation of the meaning of the words. During a pro-environmental or anti-environmental administration, that agency's views will carry more weight or deference by the courts. So purpose is easy. Words, as they become law, are hard. This course tries to make you aware of the challenges in legal interpretation.